Welcome, Globetrotters and Cats Crew. How's everyone today? So, a couple of housekeeping things. Y'all know how I'm going to start this off. Hopefully, it's not too long. I think I got a lot to say, and then we'll get into the episode. So first of all, guys, I swear to you, the bio site is the best place to get everything that's going on with me. And it's always dropped in the show notes. I have the merch store there. I have the cuffed fundraiser there for our Cats Crew Cares nonprofit that I'm starting. I also have the PayHip site there where I sell my digital prints. And I will also be adding digital products like a travel journal, an affirmations journal, a travel guide. All of these things are there for your purchase. One other quick note for you guys is that every other episode will be me solo and then me with the co-host. So this episode is just me, guys. And then the next episode will be with my favorite Canadian, Nelson. And you guys seem to love us. We're kind of random, and I like it that way. We actually do kind of plan out our conversations, but it really is just like two friends chopping it up. And I think you guys can kind of tell just by our back and forth that we actually kind of like each other. We're fond of each other. So that seems to be working and getting some good streams. So I will keep bringing it back as long as you guys like it. And then I will also have another friend of mine. I'm not quite sure when he's going to join. My friend Bill, I talked about him a couple times. He works for United Airlines and he has some travel hacks. He's really a kind of random guy. He's funny. You guys will love him. And then my friend Catherine, who's also going to sit, she's actually just coming back from Cozumel and, she has a son with autism. So she will be talking about, traveling with a child with autism. And I think that's, a lot of people who probably listen to this podcast could probably relate to that. And I'm excited to have her on because I would, she and I have been friends for a long time and just throughout her journey with her son, it's just been so very interesting and I've learned a lot from her and I have several other friends who have children with autism as well and they too can also have a seat and tell about their adventures as well. But she was one of the first ones to pipe up and say she wanted to tell her story. And, I'm excited to hear about it because y'all listen, those 5 weeks I was abroad last year taught me so much about myself, and that was just me. As you know, I've spoken very openly about this that I am child free, so I can't even imagine what it's like to travel with a child, let alone to have a child who has autism or, some other kind of special needs. And I hope I'm saying that right. And if I didn't say that right, please forgive me, guys. I'm not trying to be disrespectful or anything like that. So I don't want like comments like, you said it wrong. I apologize. Because I've been on flights. I mean, the last flight when I was flying to Venice, I sat right next to a baby who cried the entire flight. She was maybe a year old. I think she was a year. And I literally got no sleep from Houston to London, which is where we touched down. And I had to change planes. So I can't even, I get fussy at times, right? The ears popping, the different little things that happen when you're flying. So imagine I think about being a small child who doesn't have the skills to verbalize, what they're feeling or what's going on. And so they're just whining, they're fussy and you're changing time zones. So, I have a hard time adjusting when I'm traveling. So imagine a 1-year-old trying to adjust to, not like 1 or 2 hours. Like this isn't like from flying from Houston to Vegas where it's a 2-hour time difference. And sometimes that's difficult, but to be somewhere and you're like 7 or 8 hours, outside of your window. So it's a really very interesting, guys. So with that being said, I've talked for a whole 4 minutes. Y'all know I'm silly. With that being said, today's topic is about travel insurance, right? And so here's the thing, guys. What I do when I'm not globetrotting, I also I'm an insurance agent. And so with that also comes along, I've learned a lot since I've been an agent as I talk to people about life insurance and their needs and the hesitancy about purchasing it and things of that sort. So it's really interesting, just in this game called life in general. Some people don't insure their body with medical insurance. Some people don't protect their families or themselves because, as you know, or maybe you don't know, life insurance can also be used while you're living. But this isn't a ploy to sell life insurance, guys. If you have questions, though, you feel free to hit me up on any of my social media channels if you have questions about life insurance. But what I want to talk about today is travel insurance. And so while I understand that people don't understand like the benefits and the necessities of medical and life insurance, people also don't understand the necessity of travel insurance. And it's a necessary tool when you travel, right? So let's start with the real talk. And this isn't even from a solo perspective, but definitely when you're solo, you know, it's me, right? There's no backup. There's no person to split costs with, nobody to help you navigate a crisis. And I completely understand it. Like, travel insurance isn't always the first thing on someone's mind, right? I think the first few times I traveled internationally, in full transparency, guys, I didn't have travel insurance. And then I started working with a travel agent, and then I learned the benefits of travel insurance, right? And I've seen it, like I said, I'm an agent, so I've seen what it looks like when we overlook protecting the things that matter most to us, right? And I get it, right? Life is busy, budgets are tight, and sometimes purchasing insurance just seems like another box to check. But here's what I've learned. When we're on the road, we're even more exposed. And as somebody who's been there, I've been sick in a foreign country. I can tell you travel insurance isn't about expecting the worst. It's about giving yourself the freedom to enjoy the best without the what ifs hanging over your head. And here's the thing, guys. So today's topic is about travel insurance and how it protects us. Because you know what? You deserve to explore the world fearlessly and safely. And here's a word of caution I want to tell you guys. I can't speak for other countries, but I will tell you this about in the States. Even if you have like medical insurance here, just traveling to another state, oftentimes your medical insurance may or may not be accepted. So the thing you want to find out is like if something were to happen to you again. Y'all know my brother lives in Arizona. I'm traveling from Houston to Vegas and driving to Arizona. So if I got sick in Arizona with my health coverage and I needed to go to a hospital, would my health coverage cover me in Arizona? Sometimes even medical insurance here will see that as an out of network expense. And even when I'm traveling domestically, guys, I still purchase travel insurance. And I'm going to break it down to you guys as to why I do it, because it checks a lot of different boxes and a lot of different things you might not think about. So first things first, guys, let's talk about the non-negotiables, right? The coverage every traveler who is in my crew, who is in Cat's crew, needs to have in their policy, right? No excuses, no shortcuts. Medical coverage. Because here's the thing, guys. While in America, if you go to the hospital and you can't afford to pay, they're gonna treat you, right? They'll send you a bill. It might be for a gazillion dollars, but they're gonna treat you. You're not afforded the same things when you travel to other countries. There was a case of a couple years ago where this girl's mom got sick on a cruise and they were at a port of call, I believe in Jamaica. And they took her to a hospital. The mom was on life support, or she needed oxygen. I think she needed oxygen. I don't believe she was on life support. And if she didn't pay, so she needed oxygen, and they were going to medevac her to, I believe, the nearest hospital, which would have been in Miami. And she needed to pay to like $20,000, right? No lie, guys. I didn't do my research, so I forgot the name. But I'm sure if you Google it, it'll pop up. So the young lady ends up they were going to kick the lady out the hospital. So the young lady ends up doing a GoFundMe. And thankfully, she raised the money. So they were able to fly her mom from Jamaica to Miami to get the treatment. And I should probably follow up on that just to see. I think her mom's okay or whatever. But I should probably just follow up to check that out. Yes, guys, if you can't pay for your if you can't pay up front, they will kick you out. I've talked about my Egyptian son and his mom was sick. Hey, sorry guys, it might sound a little choppy right here. My phone actually rang in the middle of my recording, so I stopped the recording to answer the phone. I thought I had it off. I went back and listened. I don't think you can hear the phone ringing, but if it sounds choppy, my apologies. So as I was saying, my Egyptian son, his mom was in the hospital sick, and she needed a surgery, and they would not perform the surgery until she paid the cost. And that's how it is in a lot of these countries, especially probably the developing countries as well. I'm not sure how it is, like if I got sick in Italy or whatever, if they would, toss me out on my derriere if I did, I couldn't pay for it. But medical coverage is, guys, it's A1 day one. And here's the thing you need to look out for, right? I read this somewhere a long time ago, and like I said, after a couple of international trips, I started purchasing travel insurance. And the company that I used, I'm not going to name them because they're not sponsoring this podcast, but I should have probably called them and I probably could have gotten a sponsorship. But here's the thing you want to look out for when you are purchasing travel insurance. Because it doesn't do any good if you still have to pay first and reimburse. You want to make sure that the company that you purchase your travel insurance through, they can build the company, right? So, and I never asked them this until I heard I heard that statement. And then when I was, literally last year, I found this out. I was like, how's y'all's policy work? The lady was like, look, if anything happens to you and you're abroad, all they need to do is fax us a claims form. We will fill it out and we will send it back to them and they just bill us directly. So I'm like, oh my God, that's great. Now here's the other thing that I like about the company that I'm with too. Especially as a solo traveler, right? If I were to get sick and my mother wanted to come be with me while I was in the hospital, they will pay for her to fly out there and be with me. And I thought that was really great. They will also fly her out, not to make this turn all grim, but if the unfortunate thing were to happen to me abroad and she wanted to accompany my body back home, they would also fly her out to do that as well. And I thought that was very comforting and reassuring, to know that they would do that for her. Even just if I were sick, like say I was in the hospital for a week or something and, she was like, I want to go be with my daughter while she's over here recovering. They would fly her out to do that. And so I thought that was very reassuring. I thought that was very nice and reassuring. And again, I just found that out just by kind of asking them, right? And so I'm going to repeat again that even if especially in the States, like even if you're in the States and you go to another state, your health insurance may not cover you there. But guess what? Your health insurance definitely ain't going to cover you in Cairo or Venice or anywhere else abroad you think you want to go and you think it's going to cover you. So, we know that medical bills add up just here. So imagine, again, being abroad and that being something that you have to think about or worry about. I wouldn't want that to be my worry. And like I said, the girl had to start a GoFundMe to get the money to get her mom home or get her mom to Miami. I don't even think she was from Miami, but to get her back to the States, right? And I say this, even in the course of my insurance business, you shouldn't have to fundraise to bury your loved one. You shouldn't have to fundraise to cover your medical bills, especially abroad when this is something. And dude, guys, listen, I was gone for 5 weeks. I think I paid maybe $200 to be covered from the day I left Houston to fly to Venice to an extra day, which I usually always pick up, but was definitely glad I picked it up because I missed my flight and I ended up still being abroad an extra day. So you want to do that. right? Also, what comes with travel insurance is a trip cancellation or interruption policy, right? So things happen. Um, Sometimes you get sick. There's a family emergency. The global pandemic shuts everything down. But I think when COVID was happening, I do think they were just reimbursing everybody and it wasn't a big deal. But you don't even want to take those chances, right? So here's the thing. I think you guys remember my first co-hosting gig with Nelson. Nelson being my co-host for the first time. He talked about when he had a trip planned and then his wife's cat died, and there was the one time he didn't have like cancellation or trip, cancellation trip insurance, and he ended up not going to stay at home and be with his wife. Right? Things happen, but that also comes with like your life insurance. That also comes with your trip insurance, guys. That also comes with that, right? So, case in point, tell you guys a story. Y'all know I always have a story. I can't remember 2017. I was like, I can't remember what year. Yes, I can. 2017, Hurricane Harvey hit Houston and it shut down everything. Shut down all the airports. Actually flooded the airports. I'd never seen anything like that since, the history of remembering a hurricane, but it shut down everything. And it happened like the week of my birthday. And anybody who knows me knows I typically try to take a trip for my birthday. And so I had a trip planned to Seattle, Washington. Um, I was supposed to leave, I think it was like September 4th. Well, guess what, guys? Everything was shut down and I wasn't going nowhere. Now, here's the thing. It was a hurricane. It was a natural disaster. I might have gotten my money back anyway. Like I said, I think when COVID was happening, they were giving everybody their money back. Kind of no questions asked because everything, the world kind of shut down. Um, and that's when I was using a travel agent. And my agent was like, at the time, she was like, hey, get this travel insurance. It only costs like blah, blah, blah. And so I got it. So I get an email from, I think I was flying United. I get an email from United that they were canceling my flight. This was September 3rd. So they were canceling. I think I booked the whole vacation package through United Airlines. So they were like, we're canceling, your package. Guys, within 2 days, I had all of my money back. And I used that money. So I'm looking, rebooking my trip and looking for things, but I see this winter in Italy, which sounds as dreamy as it ever is. It's like winter and carnival in Italy, which sounds as dreamy and wonderful, and it was. And that's where I met our good friend Nelson. But I say all that to say, my trip to Portland was $1,500. Within 2 days, I had the $1,500 back in my account. Probably a couple weeks later, I saw this trip. It only had to put in like $200 more for flight and everything to book 2 weeks in winter for Carnival to Italy. And so those things happen. I have some relatives who were thinking about taking a trip to see my little baby cousin was graduated from the Naval Academy and her naval training, and something had happened. I think she's supposed to do it earlier and something happened, so they didn't buy the ticket. And then like 2 days before the ceremony, they were looking for flights. Well, flights are expensive. If you can even get a flight out, it was just a mess. And they were like, well, they didn't buy the tickets because they didn't know if they were going to be going to the graduation or not. But I'm like, that's why you book travel insurance, because you can usually cancel. There's a no reason cancellation. They're not asking you why you cancel. You just call them and tell them you're canceling it, right? So what you want to do is look for policies that have canceled for no reason. Or cancel for any reason. It might cost you a little extra, but it means you could just be like, I'm canceling my trip because. And you know what? It's a good reason. I've never canceled a trip because, but you never know. Life happens, child. The other thing that you would want to include it within your travel insurance policy is lost or stolen baggage. Why? Because imagine getting to Venice and your luggage doesn't. Y'all, I actually, again, why do I always have stories for this? I actually had this happen to some friends. They traveled to Jamaica, and guess what? They showed up in Jamaica and their baggage didn't. And guys, I'm telling y'all. So let me tell you what I've done because that freaked me out too. I've started carrying like an outfit or two in my bag, in my carry-on bag, in my backpack, right? I have a check bag and I have my little backpack. And so I've carried like an outfit in my bag, which guess what, guys? Came in handy when I missed my flight in Istanbul. And they were like, "Oh, we'll keep your luggage. You don't need to get your luggage." The airline was good. It was Turkish Airlines, and they put me up in a hotel. So that was all great. But guess what? Katrina only had the clothes on her back, and well, I had a dress in my backpack as well. And let me tell you guys this too. So here's what's funny. I did a train ride in Cairo. I haven't done my second part to Cairo, and I need to do it. But I had a train ride in Cairo, and it has the double bed. So I ended up I took the stuff. I took the toiletry items. I mean, they were mine, right? I paid for the cabin. I took the toiletry items out of the train. I just kept them in my backpack, right? I didn't use them because I had my own toothbrush and stuff, but I had them in my bag. And so I ended up meeting this incredible lady who actually let me. I really do need to do my part too, because I'll tell you about the missed trip. And I actually got to hang out in the airport lounge, and that was really cool. Um, but I ended up meeting this lady and she didn't have anything in her bag. And I said, "Hey, I have a spare toothbrush, for you." So it really worked out because, I had the stuff in my bag. So that's another tip. I should probably keep like my toothpaste and toothbrush in my bag again, just for things like that. So, um, the insurance will cover like emergency replacements, like for a phone and clothes and even your passport. I mean, for real, y'all, like, let's be serious. Who is trying to be stranded in a foreign country but nothing but the clothes on their back? Like I said, I was in Istanbul and I had a dress. I keep my charger in my backpack. I keep my portable charger in my backpack. I keep an outfit, it usually matches whatever shoes I'm wearing for the day, so I don't look kind of like a clown with shoes that don't match the outfit. I mean, I try to be as well coordinated and organized as I can be, but just through a couple decades of traveling, things that I've just kind of learned how to do. And it might be some things y'all don't think about. You don't think about it until it actually happens, and you're like, "Holy smokes!" So, yeah. And then you want to make sure they have 24-hour assistance, right? Because 2 o'clock in Cairo is, overnight in the States. So you want to make sure that if you're somewhere and something happens, that you can get a hold of somebody anytime, any place, anywhere you go. I had an issue when I went to Thailand. It wasn't anything necessarily related to this, but just another thing where I'm out of reach because it's a 12-hour difference from where I am. And so um, I was on a tour and there was part of a tour that was going to hike through the jungle. And yeah, I didn't want to hike through the jungle. I think I shared this with you guys with Nelson. And I didn't know what to do. And it was like a Saturday night. We were going to leave on a Sunday and it's 12 a.m. in the States. And even I think on the weekend, my travel agent was closed and all kinds of. So I didn't know what to do. Fortunately, my guide was very helpful because he's had this happen before. So he kind of told me what I needed to do, but it's great. But there's nothing more worrisome than literally being in a place and you can't figure out what to do because you can't reach anybody. And so you want to, um, have an agency. I mean, have a travel insurance company that you could get a hold of 24 hours around the world, no matter what. Um, in a family emergency reunion, remember, guys, I told you this a few minutes ago. If something were to happen to you, and you're hospitalized for an extended period of time, you want to find a carrier that will send your loved one, your husband, your child, your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, your niece, your nephew, whoever, out to be by your bedside while you're there. I That was something I never thought about, but the woman who helped me that day, she gave me the ins and outs and the tea child. I was well equipped to go on my way, and I felt so much better leaving. Um I'm you like I haven't even really been hospitalized like that, but I remember so I told you guys I was a tourism director, and I moved out to this small town that was probably 2 hours from my hometown, from Houston. And I remember being sick, right? So when I lived in Houston, before I'd taken that job, my mother worked probably 10 minutes from where I lived, right? So if I were homesick, mom would go to the store, after work, swing by my house, drop it off. She might stay the night, whatever. Because that's how close I lived, to where she worked. Um, and so I'm out in this town. It's just me. I'm 2 hours from home, and I'm sick, y'all. I'm sick as a dog. Like, I don't go to work. I feel terrible, and I look worse than I feel. And, when you're sick, you don't really want to eat heavy food. And like, all I had was like something heavy and something I needed to cook. And I just wanted some soup. Y'all, I had to drag it out of the house. I just put on some sweats. I just put on some sweats and a ball cap. I'm like, if somebody saw me, they probably thought I would have been the worst of the worst. To get some food, to get some soup. And so, in that moment, I really like missed having my mom like close by, and missed being in the, same town with family, because even if my mom wouldn't have been able to get to me, my aunt lived not too far. Her daughter, my cousin, was kind of always at her place. So even then, it could have been like, oh, my cousin's over there. Oh, tell my cousin to stop at, XYZ grocery store and pick up me a couple cans of soup and stop them by my house. So, like I said, it was just really comforting to know that, even if something were to happen to me, just I was in the hospital for, some extended period of time, that they would make arrangements, and that it was part of the policy that I paid for them to fly my mother out to be by my bedside. Now, getting mom on a plane to fly abroad is a different story. But the fact that, if I wanted that, like that would happen, was very kind of cool. That's what I call next level peace of mind, right? So this is optional, guys, but adventure sports coverage. Um, yeah. So the thing is, I think on some of them they call it like extreme sports. So sometimes you pay extra for that. I remember like going, like filling out the online application, and them kind of asking you like, what's the nature of your trip, and this, that, and the third, and this, that, and the third, and are you into extreme sports and stuff like that. Now, some of those things can be add-ons, but if you are a thrill seeker, because again, some of my friends, if y'all remember that story, I was like, yeah, not going on that. And we had to raft, down the river from the jungle in Thailand. That probably would have been considered an adventure sports coverage, and it would have been extra, right? But if you like to do the hiking and the scuba diving and the zip lining, please make sure that your policy covers that, or that you purchase it as an add-on, because typically most standard policies do not cover that. And you want to be real careful too. I saw an article again where some people were drinking and somebody got injured. I think they fell down some stairs or something, and the insurance policy wouldn't cover that either. So kind of whatever company you decide to go through, make sure you know the ins and the outs. See, I'm not even like a partier type of person, so I will probably be okay. I do drink a little when I'm abroad, but it's not the biggest thing that I do. And probably much like when I'm home, when I'm in my home in Houston, I drink at home. I don't drink out. So I would probably be in my hotel room drinking, and then go and get in bed. But you want to make sure that you get a live agent on the phone, or as you're filling out the application, be really honest about like the nature of your trip. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I think my next trip to Mexico, I think I want to do a little parasailing or doing the little, I don't know. They have the little thing hooked to the boat with the little parachute thing. I think that's parasailing, right, guys? If it's not, somebody tell me what it is. But it looked really cool. I saw it the last time I was in Cancun, and I was like, oh, I think I want to do that. So I think that would probably fall under adventure sports. And shout out to my girl Catherine, because I've been looking at her pictures in Cozumel. Yeah, Cozumel looks really fantastic. That water is the bluest blue, and I'm just in love with it. It's that turquoise blue, y'all, that you just can't get enough of. And here's what's funny, right? I was looking at her pictures, and I thought, it's like, it's really funny because the only place I'm usually up for an adventure, up for like some sightseeing and doing some stuff, but the only place I'm really a lazy traveler, my words, is in Mexico, right? Like, just take me to Delphine's Beach, and I'm gonna get me a little straw cabana, and I'm gonna lay out until like right before it gets dark, and then I'm gonna catch the bus back to my hotel, and I'm gonna be so happy because I don't stay in the hotel zone, but um yeah, man, I just like being near the water. And then I'm gonna go to the mall, and I'm gonna buy a pair of Pan Am shoes because I love Pan Am. And Pan Am isn't sponsoring me yet, y'all, but keep fingers crossed. I'm waiting on it. But I love those shoes. Those are the most comfortable shoes I've ever kind of had my feet in. But let me not get distracted, guys. We're gonna get back to this, to why we need travel insurance. So let's talk about, so we've talked about your must haves, right? Those are the things like you must have. And like I said, I'm not like a super adventure person, but yeah, that adventure sports thing. I mean, like, and some of this stuff that doesn't even sound super adventurous. Like, I know people who hike. I know people who go scuba diving. I know people who go zip lining. Like, I took a little boat cruise when I went to Cabo, and um so I don't know how to swim. I need to work that out. But and part of the thing, they go to a little cove, and then people get off and they go scuba diving. And that just sounds like what you do. Like, you're near the water, you're supposed to scuba dive, right? But I can see how, they would say that's kind of extreme or dangerous, because imagine if something were to happen, yada, 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 and blah, blah, blah. But, again, if those are the kind of things that you're into, you need to definitely make sure that either your policy comes with it, but it's an add-on. I know it's an add-on, probably for any policy or most policies, but that you purchase that. So now we're going to talk about the hidden gems, right? Like the things you need to know that they're not going to tell you. And this is kind of the thing that, even as a life insurance agent, that I like, because I've had conversations with people and I share different things with them that they've said other agents didn't tell them. So here's the thing. I want to share with you guys some things you might not even think about, or that if you call some carrier, they may not tell you this, right? So it covers travel delays, right? So just like I told you guys, because of Turkish Airlines, kind of, there's a big airport. Now, I booked the flight directly through Turkish Airlines. So it was like from Cairo to Istanbul, and then from Istanbul to Houston. It took me, guys, I kid you not, I had 45 minutes from the time the first flight landed to the second flight was supposed to leave. Guys, it took me almost an hour to get from where the plane let me off to where my departure gate was. And then I had to go to the restroom. And so at some point, I'm like running through the airport with my 10-pound backpack on my back, and back's kind of hurting, because, I've got some back issues, but, and I knew I wasn't going to make my flight. And so I'm like crying at the gate because I'm trying to figure out what I'm about to do. My mother thinks I'm going to be on this plane that's going to land in Houston at a certain time. And, oh God, it was a nightmare, guys. And then I couldn't figure out how to connect to their Wi-Fi so I could call my mom. And again, this really lovely woman who also missed her flight, and I couldn't figure out how to use her phone, but she texted her son, and I gave her my mom's number, and her son called my mom to tell her that I was stuck at the airport with his mother, which I'm sure was very comforting for him too, because she was an older lady, and at least he was like, I'm sure he probably felt like, well, at least mom's not alone. And, because her husband was like, I think he was an insurance, her husband was an insurance agent as well. He had passed away a few years prior, she had told me, but he had racked up all these like frequent flyer miles. And so he had like lifetime access. Get this, guys, lifetime access to the airport lounges, right? Sorry guys, I've been talking so long I had to take a drink. So, and apparently, as long as you're on the same flight, they'll let you into the lounge. So they were like, is she on the flight with you? And she's like, yeah. So I get to experience like what it's like, um, to hang out in a VIP lounge, guys. And it was really, here's the thing, right? I've had some really incredible experiences in my life, and I've like met some famous people and some high up people, and I try not to geek out, right? But you know, sometimes you just feel like a goober. So I'm like, I walk in this place and it's really, I walk in the lounge, it's really very posh and it has all these various stations of food. Don't laugh at me. I know some of you guys have probably already experienced this. Don't laugh at me. It was really my first time, right? And I was really trying to like take it all in. So it has all these like various stations of different types of food and, you walk over to the thing. It looks like a little grocery store. It has like all the sodas and different kinds of like drinks and even there's like a bar and I mean just all kinds of stuff and it's all complimentary, right? And then y'all, like I go to the restroom and it's just like state of the art, something to the nines. I don't think I've posted pictures, but I'll post pictures of it. It was just really an amazing thing. And like I told you guys, I get to the gate, I see my plane, but they told me I can't board. So I'm like, I'm bawling because you know how it is when you're ready to go home, you're ready to go home. And I've been gone for 5 weeks. And I kind of feel like no matter what I do in the world, Houston's always, always, always going to be my home. And so I had an incredible time. I met, Zizou and his family did an incredible thing for me. I saw the most amazing things in Egypt. I got to see Pompeii. I spent 2 lovely weeks in Venice, but I was ready to go home. I think it was, I think I said this in my Venice one, but literally, I think it was my first full week in Venice. And I was like, man, I really wanted some Mexican food. And although Venice has like the best, I mean, of course I'm in Italy, right? So it's the best pasta like I've ever had. I was like, I wanted some Mexican food, but I really, there's a corner store around from where my bed and breakfast was. And, they had like some guacamole. And so I bought some guacamole. And let me tell you guys, it was really some good guacamole. And I was kind of happy. And then I took the Nile cruise and they had Mexican night and I was kind of happy, but then it was like, no, they can't do Mexican food. Every other thing I had on the cruise was great, but Mexican night was a real disappointment. But I'm sure other people liked it because they probably hadn't been to Mexico. I live in Houston. Tex-Mex reigns, Tex-Mex is king here. So, I know what good Mexican food tastes like, right? So let me get back on task, guys. Y'all know I get delayed. Y'all know I detour a lot. But yeah, so the travel delay thing, right? It can, depending on what it says. If your flight is delayed more than 45 minutes, it gets you access to a travel lounge. Um, it can cover your hotel room and your meals. So guess what, guys? You're not sleeping on the floor at the airport. Or you're not like your budget got busted because you were traveling for 5 weeks and you're trying to figure out, I don't want to stay at the hotel. What am I going to do? Again, like, and here's the thing. I think if I would have missed the flight, like if it would have been because of my fault, I'm not quite sure Turkish Airlines would have covered it, but because it was their fault, they covered it. And they put me up at a nice hotel. So it's great. My mom and I ended up missing our flight, one trip coming from Vegas, uh, getting into Vegas late, and we missed our flight. And we ended up paying to stay there, and we found a really economical hotel that was, about a mile off the strip. And so it was great. I mean, it's nice when those things happen, right? And it's a hotel that when I went back there October of 2024, I actually stayed at that same hotel because it was really, really great. And again, it was like probably 3/4 of a mile to the strip. And so I would walk to the strip like every day. It's a cool October morning. You're up at like 8 o'clock in the morning and, walking about 40 minutes to the strip ain't too bad. But so those things are nice when it happens. But it's also nice when the other things happen too. So also what it could also help you out with too is rental car protection as well. Um, I don't drive when I'm abroad, so that's not a big deal for me. But for those of you who are super adventurous and like to drive, that might be something that you might be interested in as well. Just in case something happens, you get into an accident. Again, you don't want that to be out of pocket and, to come out of your pocket. And again, I don't know anything about how the laws work internationally, right? Like I know what happens here if you don't have rental insurance. They used to, you could use your own insurance to protect your rental car. And now I think they're practically making it mandatory to purchase their insurance, which, again, guys, I have a story. I did that in Atlanta by accident. I was trying to figure out why my bill was so high, and it was because I had purchased rental car insurance. And guess what, guys? On my way back to dropping off the car, I get into an accident. Sometimes, things work out. We don't understand why they happen at the time. Like the whole time I was in Atlanta, I was like, I need to call them and tell them, no, I need to cancel this and to cancel this. And I just never got around to it. And literally probably 10 miles from the airport, I get into an accident. Somebody hit the car. And guess what? It was all taken care of. I didn't have to do anything. They were like, is the car drivable? I'm like, yeah. They were like, drive the car back. And like, that was it. Again, something that it can also help you out with. And these are things that now that I'm thinking about it, I am also like the next time I travel, I need to ask them about these things as well. Because again, some of these are all things, that could occur. I mean, I know mine covers the travel delay thing, but this one, the legal assistance, um, God forbid you run into trouble abroad, the insurance could connect you with local lawyers or like bail you out of jail. And I mean, you guys remember my stories in Naples. I mean, like I said, that was a really scary experience for me to be thinking about, oh my God, what if I were to get locked up and my poor mother would not know what to do? So, because I have now experienced that is something the next time I purchase insurance, and I don't know if that would be an add-on or something, but it would definitely be worth the cost of admission to get that piece of protection, because I would like to be connected with a local lawyer in case something like that were to happen with me, right? And then sometimes they have concierge services, which means they like have a travel agency component, and maybe they can help you book tours or restaurants or things like that. So those are the little hidden gems you might want to worry about if any of those things sound like something you might be concerned with as well. Like I said, I know mine for sure comes with a travel delay coverage. Not quite sure about the legal assistance. Definitely something I will look into. So, guys, I think we're about to wrap this up. Y'all know I don't like talking to y'all. I don't like keeping y'all for too long. I love talking to y'all, and I hope throughout all of our little adventures, all the things I've talked about have either been entertaining or informational, or a little bit of both, So we're going to go through the checklist again to make sure that we all understand what we need to have as we are thinking about travel insurance and how important it is. And guys, like I said, I was gone for like 5 weeks, and I don't think it was $200. It might have been right at $200. So that's what, like, kind of $30 a week or something like that. But it's worth it because the whole time I was traveling, I felt protected. I felt safe. Again, if I were to get sick or lose my luggage or, something like that, I just was like, I'll be okay. And the main thing for me that I'm always worried about, not worried, like something's going to happen, but that I am always concerned about is that if something were to happen to me and I were to need medical attention, can I get it? Are they going to toss me out? Like I'm a sick girl, but I don't have to pay. So like I said, the first one, is always emergency medical and evacuation. Oh, we can talk about the evacuation part too. Not to get all political and go into that vein, but much like there's a war going on and stuff like that. And if you're in a zone and you need to evacuate, they'll also make those arrangements to get you out of that country. I think one of my friends, her I forgot where they were. Her relatives were traveling and they evacuated her from where she was. They had a stop in Cairo for a couple days, I believe. And so they went to the pyramids and she was posting the pictures of that from her aunt and uncle. And then I believe they came on back to the States. But, again, those are kind of things we never worry about. We don't think about until it's actually happening to us. And so, you know, again, you want to make sure that those things are present in mind. Of course, the obvious about repatriation, and if the ultimate unfortunate thing were to happen to you abroad, like getting you back to the States, that's also very important. Again, I don't, much like the example I gave you guys earlier, people don't plan on getting sick, right? I was sick a few days in Venice, right? Not sick to go to the hospital, but like woke up, stomach not feeling well. And I have digestive issues. So stomach not feeling well, like a myriad of different things. But we don't plan on getting sick, but y'all know life happens. The unexpected things happen, right? We've had all kinds of unexpected things that happen during our life. So you think sickness and illness, take a vacation because you're on vacation, like, oh, Kat's on vacation. She can't break her leg today. I mean, just crazy things happen. And like I said, um, different countries, have different kind of rights and responsibilities when it comes down to hospital stays. You don't want to be sick somewhere needing some long-term care. And they're like, oh, we need $15,000 for you. Or else we're going to toss you out, and again, you're putting up a GoFundMe or a Cuffed or you name your, crowd fundraising platform to take care of your loved ones when you could just pay, about $50 a week to cover you. Like you're going on a cruise for a week. I'm like her policy probably would have been $30. It would have been next to nothing. But people don't think about it. And I think, again, just kind of in the line of work that I do, it's because people don't know what they don't know and they don't realize it. And they think, after that particular incident happened with the lady on the cruise ship, I had commented under one of my friends' post that posted about it. I was like, this is why you get travel insurance. And she was like, oh, it covers that. And I'm like, yes. And a myriad of other things. Like, again, your illnesses don't take a vacation because you're on vacation. I think that should be a quotable, right? So that's a non-negotiable, guys. Trip cancellation and interruption, because you know what? Life happens. It makes sure there's a no reason cancellation policy, because you just might be like, I woke up today and I don't think I want to go on this trip. I don't know. That could happen, but you want it to be, you want it to be something like that. Case in point, let me go back. Of course, I have a story. I was supposed to go visit a friend of mine. In California. He was graduating from law school, and I had bought my ticket. And my dad had gotten really sick, and he needed to have valve replacement surgery. And wouldn't you know, his valve replacement surgery coincided with when I was supposed to leave for my friend's trip. And now most airlines have this policy where, like, if there's a medical thing and you show proof, like perhaps you're hospitalized, or like in my case with my dad, like my dad's having surgery, and major surgery at that they'll refund you your money. So check kind of your provider things. And so at the time, and again, that was when I was traveling without getting travel insurance, guys, or like cancellation, because you don't, I was a little bit younger and I didn't, think about stuff like that. But so I called them and they were just like, oh, have your dad's, cardiologist send you a doctor's note saying that this and that. And so I was able to cancel it. I had a credit with the airline, but then when I decided to travel again, they wouldn't charge me like a rebooking fee. So that was great too. That even though they didn't give me my money back, and I don't think at the time I was completely worried about it, but just the fact that I was able to use that credit to book another trip, which I did. I ended up going to Sydney, Australia. And so what happened was the package that I purchased they didn't have a flight. The flight wasn't coming from Houston; it was coming from LA to Sydney. So I just needed to buy my ticket from Houston to LA, and the credit was enough to cover my ticket round trip. So that's another little tip that some of you guys may not know, that they kind of have that kind of built in. But again, you don't want to rely on that all the time, right? Because they could, I ain't gonna say nothing bad, but it could be a situation where they're like, well, today we don't feel like being friendly, right? And they could just be that way. So, because life happens, another non negotiable you would want to have is a trip cancellation policy, and a no reason trip cancellation policy. Another non negotiable is that they cover your lost baggage, right? Because, knock on wood, I have not experienced it, but I know people who have experienced it. And, you know, you don't want to be somewhere where you have absolutely nothing. But again, guys, if you take a carry on too, um, throw a dress, women, ladies, a skirt and a top, men, throw an extra pair of shorts, maybe a little t-shirt or something. I don't know. Throw them in your bag. And then that way, no matter what, you're always kind of covered. And your toiletry items, guys, because what did we learn? Something could happen, right? And again, guys, you want a company that you can get a hold of 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or as the young kids say, 25/8. You want to be able to reach them all day, every day, any day. Emergencies, emergencies, holidays, whatever. You want that because if your car is declining in Cairo at 2 o'clock in the morning, at 2 p.m., it's early back in the States, and I actually had that happen. And so I couldn't get a hold of the bank, and it was just a whole mess because it was early morning and my bank was closed, of course. Um, and then family emergency reunification. It may be something you think about. It may be something you don't think about. If you're a solo traveler like me, it might bring you a little comfort and a little peace of mind that, hey, your loved one can get with you. It come sit with you at the hospital. Um, if you happen to be hospitalized abroad. I mean, I think if I were hospitalized here, obviously, I'd want my mom to come sit with me. I think if I were in the hospital for an extended period of time anywhere, I'd want my mom to come sit with me. So it's definitely important. That was definitely something important. Like I said, brought me a little piece of comfort. And again, you want to look out for that adventure sport add-on. And you might not think hiking and skiing and snorkeling and all that stuff is adventurous. Check with your carrier, guys, and make sure that it's either covered in your standard policy or that they define it as like an adventure thing. And as an adventure thing, and you make sure that you purchase that add-on, because God forbid something happens to you and doing one of those things, and then you still can't get the medical coverage that you need, right? Um, I don't know about this one, but it's a pre-existing condition waiver. I do have a pre-existing condition. I've never seen it, and even in talking to the woman who gave me just all the tea, it was never anything that she mentioned. So I don't think it's. I mean, I don't know. You want to check? I'm not telling you not to check. I'm just saying my particular. I mean. Here's the thing, when you're signing up with the company, just ask them for the do's and the don'ts and ask them about everything. I mean, I'm trying to lay out as much information as I can. So when you do purchase travel insurance, you know the questions to ask, right? Um, you usually want to buy your insurance within 14 days of booking your trip. That's how you definitely get some of the other protections that come with like trip cancellation and stuff like that. I usually buy my ticket first. I usually figure out like the do's and the don'ts and the ins and the outs. And, then I usually buy my travel insurance like a couple of days later. Like you can book your trip first, but find out what that window is and make sure you book it within that time period so you're all protected, right? You definitely want to compare policies. I did that. That's how I found the company that I go to, and I adore them. Their prices seem to be the best. And like I said, the coverage that they give seems to also be pretty good. I do need to check on that legal part. That's actually really, really interesting in light of what I experienced in Naples. And then there's just been some stories about people who have, even though they were kind of behaving badly overseas, they found themselves in like sticky situations, um, where they weren't able to leave and different things like that. So yeah, I mean, having boots on the ground in that city and some legal, you know, to be able to get some legal representation, sounds pretty good, right? I'm gonna tell you guys what I also do too, right? Uh, I also send my mom like my insurance information. It's funny because no, it wasn't the last trip. I think it was this other trip when I went to Mexico in 2014. I think, I'm not 2014, 2024. She was like, you didn't send me. Actually, I think I was in Mexico. She was like, you didn't send me your insurance information. And I was like, oh, I thought you would get, like, she likes my itinerary and all this stuff. So I usually send her, like, my flight itinerary. I usually send her the hotel I'm staying at. And I usually send her my insurance information. And I'm always like, I forward it to her an email because, they send you everything in an email. And I'm always kind of like, I hope you never have to use this, but you call this number, give them this policy number, and tell them what happened, and they'll tell you what to do. Like, that's literally how the company that I work with is. They're like, all she needs to do is call this number and give us the policy number, and we will, like, guide her through the rest. So I'm like, hopefully in my travels, that's never anything that you have to be concerned with. It's never anything that comes up, but you call these people, tell them this number, tell them my name, and they will tell you what you need to do. And so that's just how she is. And I think sometimes she even kind of tracks like my flight and stuff like that. Like, she's really cute. And so it's really funny. Just like the things that she's kind of used to me doing, and sometimes when I don't do them, she's like, I didn't get this. And like when I went to Italy in 2018, I think, yeah, same thing. Like, I was already in Italy, and she was like, where are you? And I'm like, what do you mean, where am I? Like, I was in Rome. And I was like, I'm in Rome. Like, like what? And she's like, well, you didn't send me your itinerary. And I was like, because I was like, are you going to send me something? Like, why do you need to know where I am? It's not like I'm in Houston or whatever. Um, She's like, no, I'm in Rome. And she was like, well, you didn't send me your itinerary. So she kind of keeps up with me when I'm abroad. So I'm like, and it's funny because the hotel we stayed at in Rome was a little bit of an older hotel. So their Wi-Fi was sketchy. And I'm sitting in the stairwell. It's a beautiful hotel though. They had this beautiful like spiral staircase. So I'm sitting in the staircase because it's like one of the few places I could get a good signal. Obviously in the lobby, I couldn't get necessarily a good signal in the room, but in like the middle of the hotel in the staircase, I could get like a really good signal. So I end up like forwarding her the emails when I got back in because we'd all gone out the night before. And so my tour guide's like, why are you sitting like mom? Like I'm, dealing with some stuff with mom, but so you guys might also want to do that too, whether you are, even if you're traveling with your family, you might want to have a contact like back in your hometown, um, back home, wherever you live, if you're in the States or in London. And shout out, we got some new listeners. So shout out to you guys. We got some new subscribers. Thank you and welcome. So you might want to send it to somebody in your hometown who's not on the trip with you. So just in case something happens, whatever, that they have this information, they have this resource, and they know what to do, right? So, of course, you always want to put the number like in your cell phone. Um, Another thing that I've learned excuse me, because I've had this happen to me abroad is my cell phone died. You might want to, well, I know now everybody has little portable chargers, but you never know. Weird things will happen. But you might want to write the number on a piece of paper and put it in your backpack, carry-on bag, someplace you have easy access to. Because there's nothing worse than trying to run around the airport and trying to find a plug to charge in your phone. But now, I had this happen back in the day when cell phones were kind of, and I'm gonna tell my age, but I mean, we're all Gen X on this thing. Most of us. I think my large number of the listening audience is Gen X, but y'all know how it was when cell phones first came out. Like, charging ports weren't everywhere. Now charging ports are everywhere. You can even charge your plane on the phone. So, but just in case, again, you never know. You could lose your phone or something crazy. But you also want to have the number on your phone, just in case. And check your credit cards, guys. Some of your credit cards will offer basic travel insurance, but It's probably not going to be enough for what you want, but check it. It could be great. It could be, just enough for what you need. Um, so guys, listen, I'm gonna wrap this up because we're at an hour and I didn't even think this thing was gonna get that long. But I get it, right? Insurance isn't sexy, no matter whether we're talking about medical, life, or travel. Um, and it definitely isn't as fun as like picking out your best outfits to take on your trip. But as travelers, not just solo travelers, not just female solo travelers, even if you're traveling in a group, the best thing you can do is to protect yourself because we all know life happens, right? And as I wrap, I hope that this hasn't scared you guys because this isn't about fear. This is about freedom. It's about the freedom to explore the world without worrying about what if this happens. You know what I'm saying? It's the freedom to say yes to that spontaneous adventure. It's the freedom to know that if something goes wrong, you're going to be covered. Listen, I've been traveling for years, much like a lot of you guys have too. And I've had my fair share of close calls. I've missed some flights, almost got arrested or threatened with arrest, not almost, but threatened with arrest twice. Um, but the thing that I have, like I said, I've taken comfort with and felt good about was having travel insurance, knowing that if I were to get sick and needed to be hospitalized, um, that I could get the care that I needed without worrying about how much this is going to cost me. Um, Comfort in knowing if the unfortunate thing happened to me abroad, they could get me back home to my family. Um, and like I said, I'm going to say this. I don't think I said it when I went through the checklist, but make sure that the travel insurance company you use, that the hospital can bill them. You don't want to have an insurance where you got to pay out of pocket and then they have to reimburse you. Because that can still cost you thousands of dollars and then you got to wait on getting reimbursed. Like I said, the company that I go with, they said all the hospital needs to do is fax them the claims form. They fill out the claims form and send it back to them within 24 hours. And bingo, bango, we are good to go. So you guys might want to remember that. Or just, make sure there's something that's top of mind, right? So, but yeah, I feel comfortable when I have insurance. I know that I'm going to be okay. So, guys, do me a solid, right? Before you book that next trip or as you're booking your next trip, make sure you budget for insurance. Again, it's not very expensive. And again, like life doesn't stop happening. Life doesn't go on vacation because you went on vacation. I just want you guys to be protected and to be safe and to have no worries as you travel this world, right? Um, because we deserve to have a good trip and we deserve to have a trip without worry and without fear and, without all of those things. Um, so y'all listen, that is all I got for today, right? If you've got a travel insurance story, good, bad, or indifferent, drop it in the comments. Tag me in a post on TikTok or Instagram at Where Cat Walks. This episode's gonna pop up on the YouTube channel. Same thing at Where Cat Walks. Drop it in the comments, right? Share our stories because guess what, guys? We're all in this together. Um, and like I said, the next episode will be me and Nelson chopping it up. I think we've got some good stories for you next time. We're gonna talk about cruising and kind of what makes a travel experience, and some other fun things. One last thing I'll say, I hadn't said this in a very long time, but make sure you like, subscribe, and share this with your friends, family, and enemies because they all need to hear these words. Like everybody needs to really understand what travel insurance is and how it works and what it does, right? And it helps the algorithm. So whatever platform you guys are listening to me on, please rate please rate the podcast. Drop comments, like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, y'all, stay curious, stay safe, and keep exploring. Right? And if there's a story to tell, y'all, I'm going to tell it. I'll see y'all in 2 weeks with Nelson, guys. Y'all have a good one.